Star student, see? A star, a feathered star. I'm a star math student. Aha, I want to use factoring to solve equations now. All right? So, when we're solving equations, if you're multiplying two numbers, and in order for this to equal 0, what must be true? Either this has to be 0, because 0 times a number is 0, or this has to be 0, because 0 times a number is 0. So, if we have this, it tells you that this times this has to be 0. So you're telling me, okay, so this parentheses has to be 0, or this parentheses has to be 0. So to solve here, what you do to one side, you do to the other. X is -1. The inverse is adding 4, so x equals 4. So since it's a quadratic, because if we FOIL, remember we have x times x squared, that x squared is a clue that you have two answers. So here we have two answers, -1 and 4. And that will produce an answer of 0. Let me check it out. If x is 4, 4 minus 4, 0. 0 times whatever is 0. Let's check the other one. -1 plus 1 is 0. Times whatever is 0. But I'm not going to give them to you like this. I'm going to give them to you like this. So I have to factor it. This is a leading coefficient of 1 and it's a trinomial. X times x will give you x squared. Copy the first sign. Negative times what? Negative times what is positive? Negative. The factors of 12 that give you 8. 1 times 12, 2 times 4. No, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Which combination gives you an 8 if I add them? 6 and 2. So now I can solve. X minus 6 has to be 0, or x minus 2 has to be 0. The inverse operation, what you do to one side, you do to the other. X is 6. The inverse operation, x is 2. So we have two answers, 6 and 2. Let's move over here. Greatest common factor, which we learned first, is 3. Factor 6 divided by 3 is 2x squared minus 3 divided by 3 is 1 equals 0. So here I only have one parenthesis because this one is already just a 3. So we need to say this parenthesis has to equal 0. Oh, but you may be telling me, Mrs., that's a difference of 2 squares. No, 2 is not a perfect square. Okay? So here, the inverse is adding 1, adding 1. So 2x squared equals 1. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X squared equals 1/2. And then we take the square root. So x equals the positive and negative square root of 1/2. And you can leave it like that if you want to. Or you can get a calculator, whatever you feel more comfortable. Okay? We can factor this one. X and x, copy the first sign. Positive times what is negative? Negative. The factors of 15. 1 times 15, 3 times 5, that gives me 2. Well, 5 minus 3 is 2. So here we say x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 3 has to equal 0. Inverse operation, x equals -5. Inverse operation, x equals 3. We have two answers. And the last one. Uh-oh, I don't like this one because it's bow and arrow. It's the long one. Copy the first, copy the last. 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. These two will give me a 1. Plus 5x minus 4x. Now we do grouping, 2 and 2. Greatest common factor, x. 4x squared divided by x is 4x. 5x divided by x is 5. Minus greatest common factor, 1. Negative divided by negative, positive. Negative divided by negative, positive. What's in common? 4x minus 5. And what is left? X minus 1 equals 0. Now we say 4x minus 5 has to equal 0, or x minus 1 has to equal 0. Let's start with the easy one. Plus 1 plus 1, x is 1. Plus 5, 4x is 5. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X equals 1 1/4. You can leave it like this or a decimal, whatever you want. So we have two answers. Is that clear? Okay.